Yo, yo. What's going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. Sunday fun day. Y'all know the vibes, man. Let's go. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. Feel a little bit silly for selling our swing on Friday, but, you know, can't catch it all. Can't catch them all. It is what it is, man. But, happy Sunday, everybody. Hopefully, you guys had a great weekend. What I do know is we got a fucking huge week ahead of us. Big week ahead of us, man. We have a big night already. Just for perspective, NQ down 5%, ES 3.5%, YM 3%, RTY 4.5%. Trouble is an understatement. Trouble is an understatement. We got a lot to cover tonight, guys. It's 8:59 p.m. We're going to go ahead and get started earlier. And, yeah, man. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. For anybody that's new here, we're going to go over the economic calendar first. And then we're going to get into the watch list for the week ahead. Ranges. That's first things first. I am interested in catching a trade on futures. But just a forewarning. These ranges are absolutely insane. If you just take a look at VIX, it's sitting at 45. Overnight here, if we look at futures on VIX, we are sitting at way up there, right? So ranges, just for perspective, if you look at NQ, tonight we are down almost 1,000 points. From lows, we are back up 310 points. We're seeing swings of 200, 300, 400 points. No problem. So it's tricky, guys. It's tricky. We're going to get into everything. All right? We're going to get into everything. And with that being said, let's get it. Let me go ahead and make this screen bigger for you guys. Pull up this calendar. And we'll go from there. My personal position is I'm long of this 16,400, but I entered, obviously, quite a while ago. We'll see if we can take another trade, though. I entered down here at like 650, something like that. I plan on swinging it into the morning. I'm going to explain why as well, why I think that we trade higher into the morning. But let's get into it. First things first, economic calendar, and then we will get into the charts. Before we get started here, everybody see clear, hear clear. Drop a 1 for me, 2 if you can't. On your guys' cue, we will get this thing rocking, man. Again, appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. Let's have a great night. Got a ton to cover. And, yeah, man, let's get it. Let's get it, let's get it, let's get it. Alrighty, everybody's good to go? Alrighty, let's do the damn thing, man. First things first here. Going into Monday, April 7th. Nothing of importance here on Monday. We're good to go. Good to go. Tuesday, April 8th. Nothing of importance there. Good to go. Data starts here on Wednesday, April 9th. We have FOMC minutes, which is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is not the same as FOMC, where we have the 2 p.m. statement and JPOW 2:30. This is different. This is FOMC minutes meeting. It's a closed door statement release. Not even as close as significant as regular FOMC. Thursday, big day. Big day. Probably the biggest day of the week. We have CPI, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, along with jobless claims. And that is Thursday, April 10th. That's the biggest day of the week. Right off of Thursday, we have Friday, April 11th. Massive day as well. We have PPI, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, followed by consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Massive week, right? Massive week. Who swung calls? Oh, here goes Mamba. Here goes Mamba. Nobody swung calls, dumbass. Here, let me go ahead and do you a favor before we even start here. Anyway. Again, Monday, good to go. Tuesday, good to go. Wednesday, FOMC minutes, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thursday, April 10th, biggest day of the week. CPI jobless claims at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Friday, we have PPI, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I swear, man, it's absolutely hilarious. This little cocksucker comes in here every week and tries to say something. Every week. Every week. Like, bro, you didn't succeed last week. You didn't succeed the week before. The 2 previous weeks, I gave you the spotlight for 10 to 15 minutes, and you went ghost. And then you try again this week, and you comment something just absolutely outrageous that is the most false thing I've ever heard, right? Like, I don't understand. Like, if you're going to come in here and say something, at least make it half true. Like, call me a felon, or I don't know. Call me whatever you want. Just make sure it's true. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. Like, if you're going to say something, make it be a fact. You know what I mean? I don't know. Whatever you want to say. Just make it a fact. Anyway, let's get it, y'all. Hop into NQ here first. And, yeah, man. Let's get it. Wow, this is a potential trade opportunity here right at this moment, actually. Potential trade opportunity right now here on NQ. I'm about to cover it myself, so I'm not going to be able to focus on this trade. But if you were to trade this by yourself, right, major supply here from this overnight session, 16,800, right? This is the way I would trade this if I wasn't on live. I'm not going to put on a trade right now because I don't want to deviate the focus away from the live. But ranges, again, they're 100 to 200 points per 5-minute candle, so you have to trade micros, but I would literally just go short here, stop above this high. That's what I would do. And then once we get that pullback, 680, 660, you could just take profit. But if we don't close weak here, it's not valid. So if this candle closes weak, you know what to do. If not, stay away. Anyway, let's get into a macro view here. Monthly chart. Huge. I mean, just look at it, right? I mean, look at it. I've been talking about this for so long. I don't even know what else to say, right? I tried to warn everybody when this monthly closed. I tried to warn everybody when this failure to go higher happened. I literally told everybody to stay far away if they could from longs when we formed this initial wick. I didn't know what else I could do. You know, I tried to prepare you guys as much as possible. I literally was talking about a bear market before we even entered a correction, right? Like, everybody who attends these Sunday lives knows I've said the same thing week after week after week after week. If you traded live with me every day on Zoom, I've said the same thing every single day on Zoom, right? If you go back and look at my post on X, right, we've literally caught 80% of this move down. And now what I want to talk about is the significance of this move, right? The significance. A lot of people are overlooking the significance of this move. One, if you look at this monthly chart, right, just for perspective, the last time we went into a bear market, it was a 33% move over 336 days, right? Remember that. 33% move, 336 days. We have made a 27% move in 57 days. We've pretty much made the same move we've made back in 2021, which was a 33% drop in a bear market. Over a year period, we've damn near made that same move in a matter of 57 trading days. That's insanity, right? That is insanity. That's literally insanity, right? This is massive. And a lot of people are overlooking that. We're in the type of market where there's so much fear, there's so much uncertainty, the tariff talk, the trade war talk. Who wants to buy? Like, realistically, outside of a chart perspective, right? And that's what I focus on. I don't give a fuck what's going on in the news, right? Obviously, I pay a little bit of attention to it, but my focus is on the charts, right? This is my focus. And there's nothing on this chart that tells me, hey, right now on the monthly, I need to be long, or I need to be anywhere near a long position, right? Right now, if you look at this monthly chart, we're fucked, right? We broke this massive demand coming off a double top, failure to go higher. The likelihood of us flipping this monthly candle bullish is slim to none, in my opinion, right? That would require a 22% move to the upside, exiting a bear market all in the same month. Entering a bear market, exiting a bear market all in the same month. I don't see that happening. The best case scenario for this month is we catch a 10% bounce back in this 18,100, right? That's what I would say. In terms of downside, right? If you look at this from a monthly perspective, there's ton more lower to go, right? If you look at it from like an hourly perspective, we're heavily overextended, right? But that's not what really matters. What really matters are these higher time frames. This is where those big moves come from, as you guys can see. So what I want to hyper focus on in terms of this monthly in general, right, is this 15,000, 15,500, right? If you look at where we're trading in no man's land, right? If you look left from here, there is no support, right? If you look up and left here, the next resistance isn't back until that 18,000, 18,100, right? So right now we're trading in between of just a macro support and a macro resistance, right? So we're essentially in no man's land. So when you see this, right, that's when you use those lower time frames as confluence. So if you want to talk about a macro view, right, my personal opinion, I do think we trade lower. Short term, relief bounce is the most probable, but long term, our midterm, I should say, I think we do come down here and test this 15,500, 16,000 area, which is where you load the boat, right? This is where you really start slamming dips. 16,000, 15,500, this is where you really start dollar cost averaging into those names that are oversold, that are fundamentally sound, right here, right? And then you save your ad just in case we get down here at 13,000, which I would be completely mind blown, but it's not off the table, right? It's possible, right? This is where you really start slamming dips. But as of right now, you guys can see, are we getting overextended? Yes, we are, right? But does that mean we can't go lower? No. But the big levels to watch, like I stated, 15,500, 16,000. If we get down into that area, that's where you buy the fucking dip, period, right? Now, let's talk about if we pop. First, let's get down to the weekly. Get down to the weekly here. Why is that area so significant? I just mentioned. Look at it. Massive resistance, turn support. When we tested that as support, that was the trigger for the move into all-time highs. So we know that demand is still very, very relevant, right? We know that for a fact, right? We know that for a fact. So if we can get back down to that 15,500, 16,000 area, that's where you start loading the boat, right? That's where you start buying in. That's where you start dollar cost averaging and then leave an ad in case we come lower, which I don't think is very probable from that demand, right? I think before anything else happens, we will see a relief bounce, right? And that's why I said at the beginning of tonight's live that I do have a long position on NQ, and I'm going to explain where that level came from. Again, from a weekly perspective, right? NQ does not like gaps on the chart. This is my personal opinion. Weekly, we opened down 5%, tested the 16,400. Remember this level here, 16,400. I think it's a great probability that we wick here, push back at this 17,500, fill this opening gap, the new week opening gap, whatever you want to call it, right? It's a gap, period, right? I don't know how else to explain it on a weekly, but it's a gap, right? I think we wick here, fill that gap, and then once we get back up here, that's when we can determine, hey, what do we need to do, right? But I ultimately think that this gap gets filled this week. If not this week, then next. And with that being said, that's where we can go down to the daily and really start planning our trades. And if we look at the daily, again, that macro level I really was focused on was that 15,500, 16,000. That's the no-brainer level. But we also have a very, very big level here at 16,400, which was initially that demand before we broke into 15,500. That being said, if we do get that pop, that gap also lines up with that 17,500, which is that major macro supply. So get down here on the hourly. This is where we can really start narrowing down the trades that we want to identify, right? So with that being said, our game plan, 16,400. This is like my short-term reference going into this week, right? This is my long level. Right, this is where I'm looking to make a decision in terms of a long position. I've already made the decision tonight. I'm already long. I entered at 16,500, right? But this is a macro demand, right? So in my opinion, long as we're above the 16,400, it's a great reference for longs, right? Now, if we push back into the 17,000, 17,100, which is the open of tonight's session, that's a major resistance. So this is a game plan for tonight and to tomorrow. If we push back into the 17,100 and fail, that's a great short entry, back down into that 16,900. But if we reclaim that 17,100, that's what I was talking about on a weekly. We flip that weekly into a bullish pin bar, fill that weekly gap, and then we can go from there, and that'll ultimately determine the sentiment for the upcoming next week. Now, obviously, this is merely just a what-if scenario because neither of one of these have played out, but as traders, this is what we do, right? We prepare, we plan, and then we react when we get the opportunity. So with that being said, if we push down into these lows, I think that's very valid, 16,400, right? That's what we can use as a reference for longs. If we lose that 16,400, we know where we're headed, 16,000, 15,500. It's that simple. And again, push into the 17,100, right? That's our inflection point overnight with that gap. Fail it, we know what to do. If we reclaim it, we can look for that long position to flip that weekly green back into 17,500. Weekly closes green, that'll affect our decision making for next week. But that's what I'm watching, right? Very, very simple. Ultimately, big levels, 17,100, 16,400. That's the game plan for this week. And, we just have to wait and see, right? Like, we've been so weak. Like, it's honestly scary. You guys know my target was 17,000, right? From all-time highs, I said we could go to 17,000. We've hit that and some. So now I'm kind of just a little mind blown at this point, especially at the rate that we've hit it. Like being down 20% in literally 10 trading days is just completely mind blowing. But yeah, that's what I'm watching on NQ. Short term relief bounce in my opinion, and then obviously we'll go from there, right? But yeah, that's what I'm watching. Next we have ES here. This chart is insane, right? This is an insane chart, and I really want to put a lot of emphasis on where we're currently trading. Number uno, right? We broke this monthly uptrend, right? If you're looking at the overall structure in the monthly, it's finito, right? It's done, right? Unless we reclaim and wick here, overall uptrend, that's cracked, right? We broke that recent higher low. If anybody isn't familiar with a downtrend consists of what? Lower lows, lower highs. Obviously, there's no lower high on this chart yet, but we did break that overall uptrend trend line support. So that's the first thing we need to take note of here. And again, going back to that NQ thesis, we're not going to flip this monthly. If we do, I would gladly admit I'm wrong, but I would say the odds are slim to none, right? We're not going to make a 20% move down, 20% move up in the same month. But again, it could happen, right? I would say that the chance in terms of percentage is like 10%. But it could happen, right? In my opinion, it could happen. But like I said, on the monthly, I think we probably see a little relief bounce, maybe close strong on the weekly, test that supply, and then see lower. With that being said, big levels to watch here on ES is where we're currently trading, right? 4,800. You guys can see how significant this level is, right? You guys can see how significant level this is. Support, turn resistance, turn support. What do we do tonight? Push right down to the demand. We held it, now forming that nice bottom wick. So with that being said, my focus this week, 4,800, that's my reference, right? If we pull back here, we start to hold. I do want to watch for a demand bounce there, right? I do. Again, this is the weekly chart. My opinion, I think this does flip green, right? Flips green, fill that gap, and then, from there, we can kind of gauge what we need to do. But if you notice, that gap lines up directly with that supply, which is an absolute major level. Resistance, support, and also the top of the gap. So I think that's very likely, right? See a little relief bounce back into the supply, and then from there, obviously we'll watch price action and see where we go from. So getting down to the daily, what does that look like? Again, levels are clear as day, right? Going to this week, 4,800, you guys can see the significance behind it. 5,000, you guys can see the significance behind it, right? That's simple. These are our two big levels to trade from this week. Just look at it, right? That's the definition of an A+ level. That is a definition of an A+ level. So if we pull back into this 4,800, 4,775, that's where we can look for that demand bounce, right? We push into this 5,000 and we start to show weakness. That's valid for a short. Obviously, I'm going to want to see some continuation, right? So with that being said, with this weakness, if we can catch a relief bounce, reclaim that 5,000 level, fill that gap, and work back into the next supply of 5,200, that would be the best scenario, right? That's what I'm looking for this week. I'm looking for us to clear that 5,000, flip that weekly into a bullish engulfing, flip that daily into a bullish engulfing if we can get above tonight, and then we can look for that long position back into 5,200, and then we can look to short that next lower high if we get one. That's my game plan. But obviously, we're not there yet, so we just got to be patient. If we come back down and break this 4,800, next big demand is at 4,500. This will correlate to that 15,500, 16,000 on NQ. This is where you start really, really, really buying the dips. All right? 4,500 is where you really start loading the boat long term. All right? That's what we're watching. So again, big levels here on ES, 5,000 to the upside, 4,800 to the downside. That's simple. 4,800 holds. We get back above 5,000. That's the squeeze trigger. YM. And again, I want you guys to pay attention to something, right? Pay attention to something. NQ, where are we trading? Macro demand. ES, where are we trading? Macro demand. YM, where are we trading? Macro demand. Daily chart, what are we seeing? Nice bullish pin bar. Nice bullish pin bar. Nice bullish pin bar. RTY, where are we trading? Macro demand. What are we seeing? Nice bullish pin bar. Everything is extremely overextended into a macro demand. That is the best indication you could possibly get of a bullish reversal short term. Does that mean that we're going to rip and go back to all-time highs? No, but I am very confident in us seeing a little relief bounce from these levels, right? And that's why I entered a position, right? 16,400 on NQ, 4,800 on ES. In my opinion, long as we're above those, that's a great reference for longs. If we lose them, we can go from there, right? We can go from there. But as of now, that's what I would watch. 5,000 on ES to the upside, 17,100 on NQ. That's what I would watch. And that's my game plan this week for NQ, ES, and yeah, man, let's get into QQQ and SPY. I'm not going to spend much time here, right? The reason I'm not going to spend much time here is because obviously you guys can see what happened. We're down 4% on NQ right now. ES is down 3%. I will cover this more in depth tomorrow on Zoom. That way, we'll have a more accurate read on where they're opening, because right now, we really don't know where they're going to open, right? And if you don't know how to join the Zoom, there you go. Post the link in the chat. It's completely free, no paywall, no bullshit, nothing in between. Just click it, join, free. I'll see you in the morning. All right. But I will cover a couple major levels, right? Major levels. First things first. SPY. We are now in a bear market, right? ES is officially down 21% from all-time highs. That's a bear market. NQ. It's down 27% from all-time highs. That is a bear market. Only name that isn't a bear market in terms of indices? Nope, excuse me. YM is now in a bear market as well. All four indices are in a bear market. RTY, down 20% plus, bear market. YM, bear market. ES, bear market. NQ, bear market. All four indices are in a bear market, right? We've officially entered a bear market across the board. With that being said, right, let's hop over here to QQQ and SPY. One, QQQ. If you look at this weekly chart, it just screams death, right? We had that failure to go higher, double top, break of structure, lower high. Same thing I've been talking about, right? If you've attended these lives, you've attended these Zooms, I've said the same thing over and over and over. I literally, a couple times on live, said you couldn't pay me to be in a long position. And I mean, anybody with and this is what makes me question a lot of traders. This is what really makes me question a lot of traders, is I know a lot of people throughout last week. Just let me break something down for you guys. I know a lot of traders throughout last week, after this candle broke lows on the weekly, were still trying to long names. You need your fucking head checked. And it really makes me wonder if they know how to trade or not, right? Like, you don't have to be a genius. You just have to know the basics of structure, and you know that this chart screams death, right? Like, when that weekly flipped red and you're still looking to buy the dip intraday after that, you need your head checked, right? Like, and this is why I always say, when in doubt, zoom out. That's the only thing that will save you in those type of conditions. But like I said, I don't want to go too in depth here on QQQ and SPY. We'll do that on Zoom tomorrow. But big level. I do want to talk about this level. 409, 412, right? I think as of right now, we're opening in this area, I want to say, right around this area. But you guys can see, this is that previous all-time high resistance, and it held as support. This is the almighty level, right? This is the almighty levels of all levels. Below that is 390. So, with that being said, we're really approaching these macro game-changing levels, right? Game-changing levels. If we show strength in this area, right, this is where we can really, like I said, we really start buying the dip, right? Long term. This is where we can start adding to our long term, right? Add again down here at 350, right? And then we can add again, down here at 300. But these type of levels right here, like I'm talking about, right? This is where you start dollar cost averaging. 380. This is where you start dollar cost averaging. 350. You add some more, right? These are the type of levels these are, right? We're not talking about little hourly levels. We're talking about game-changing, structure-shifting levels, right? That is a fact. So, with that being said, 410, 412 area, 380 on QQQs, to almighty levels to the downside. Upside, we'll check it out tomorrow. SPY, almighty levels. You guys can see here. This is it. 480, 470, almighty, 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 almighty. This is where we can look. If we show strength down here, mark my words. If we start to build a base down here, show strength, get a nice strong daily closure, get that second day continuation, I will swing long from here, right? That's that previous all-time high resistance. You guys can see the significance of this area. This is where you pick up some VU. This is where you start dollar cost averaging into VU, and we can look for those some beta names or something to scale into that are in a big demand as well. That's what type of level this is. 460, 480 on SPY is that type of demand where you start dollar cost averaging. All right. So that being said, you guys know what to watch. That's it. We'll cover it more in depth on Zoom. Alrighty, let's get into these individual names. Again, I really don't want to spend too much time on them because of the gap down. But just to add more confluence here, look at this. This is also that macro uptrend, right? This is also that macro uptrend. This is where shit happens, guys. Levels like this. This is where opportunity comes from. Massive, 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 massive opportunity. We got that 200 MA on the weekly, 0.5 retracement on the daily, previous resistance, macro structure, trend line support. These are A+ setups, right? These type of levels, these type of opportunities are A+. So that's what we're watching on. We're squeezing. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Holy fuck. I'm up 400 points on my long. Holy shit. 500 points. I'll show you guys where. Y'all want to see where I entered? I'll show you guys where I entered. Hold on. If you guys are interested, you want me to show you where I entered? I'll give you my rationale as well. I already did, but a little bit more in depth. If you want, I'll show you. I always have receipts. You guys know that. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, well, you didn't really take it. You didn't really take it. Yeah, shut up. Waiting for someone to say that. Where was that at? I'm trying to find where I posted my entry. Oh, here we go. Found it. Found it. Found it, found it, found it. 714 is where I got long. Here we go. Got that test of 16,400. Reclaim the previous low. Failure to go lowers in play. I'm opening the long here. I grabbed micros because the ranges were so wide. But just for perspective, let me break something down for you guys, right? One micro from my entry is up $1,000. One micro from my entry is $1,000. That's how much I'm up. I'm up 2,000 right now, right? And I'm gonna show you guys one of my mentees as well, who grabbed one micro. Where is he at? Look at him. Roy, where you at? You in here? $1,300 on one micro. Look at the power of this, y'all. One micro. He entered at the same time I did. Same time I did. One micro. One micro. If you guys trade futures, you know what I'm talking about. A micro. If you grabbed one mini, you would be up $10,000 per contract. That's crazy, ain't it? Crazy. You can see Roy caught it with me. I think a couple people did, to be honest. Absolutely insane. This is the biggest trade I've ever caught in terms of point value. From my entry, we made a 500-point move, which, like I said, it's $1,000 a contract, $10,000 a contract. How much is one micro? The margin requirement overnight, I think it's like $400, something like that. Something like that. I mean, that was fire. That was absolutely fire. Um, wow, man. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to you guys. We are consistently holding 1K. That's fucking awesome, man. That is fucking awesome. I appreciate every single one of you guys for showing up, man. You guys know I do this for you. And, yeah, man. I appreciate you guys. I do. Greatly appreciated. Especially on Sunday at 9 p.m. Can I explain the rationale? Sure, why not? Before we move on here. My focus was, as I stated earlier, that's 16,400, right? So this is the context. We got that macro demand. Obviously, off the open, we're super weak, right? There's gonna be a lot of value in his. All right, so pay attention. Pay attention. You'll be able to rewatch it if you want, but just listen. Off the open, this is where a lot of people go wrong, right? They see a big demand like 16,400. Oh, I'm going long, right? Just because the demand's there, right? You have to wait for confirmation. My confirmation came from where we obviously came down, very weak, chopped around, chopped around, chopped around. Right here was my confirmation, right? Pay close attention. Why was that my confirmation? We attempted to break that previous low, tried to go, failed to go lower, where we attempted to go lower, failed. Look at this candle. Closed back above that previous low with a strong bullish pin bar. So now I can define my risk. Once that candle closed strong, that's where I took my entry. You can see the rest was history, right? So from this case, right, I was risking 100 points or so, ended up making 500. That's a 5R trade, right? And I talked about this on Friday. I need you guys to understand this. If you don't understand this, you will not become a profitable trader, right? You will not. These conditions, right? That's a 1,000-point gap down tonight. Ranges in general are insane, right? We're seeing 200, 300-point swings back and forth. If you trade a mini, that's $4,000, $5,000 per 5-minute candle, right? So when the ranges are this wide, you have to control what you can control, right? There's only one thing we can control as traders, which is our risk. So when the ranges are extremely wide like this, size down. Options or futures, it doesn't matter. That's why I traded micros. Even on micros, right? I bought 2 micros right here, right? Which cost me like 800 bucks. 2 micros. Off that 800 bucks, I was risking 100 points. So my risk was $400. I was risking $400. I caught a 500-point move, and I made 2,000. That's a 5R trade, right? That's fucking awesome. I risked 400 bucks to make 2,000, right? If you grabbed the minis, you would have risked 4,000 and you would have made 20,000, right? But if you're comfortable with that 4K risk, do it, right? It doesn't matter what this number is going to be, and I need you guys to understand that, right? It doesn't matter what you could potentially make. It matters what you can lose, right? And a lot of you guys always think about the gain. Well, I could make this, so I'm going to size up, but you're not prepared for the loss that comes with that same position size. Always be a great loser. Plan your trade as a loss, right? To always define your risk based off of your risk, not your reward, right? Obviously, you want to focus on those 2R minimums, but always define your risk based off of what you could potentially lose on the trade, right? Yeah, steadfast. That's golden, man. It's golden. That's one of the best things that I've found lately that helps me hold winning trades. Gives you that clarity that you really need. Alrighty. We're going to go over these individual names, but like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on them tonight because of how much we gap down. I'll cover them on Zoom tomorrow. We'll spend majority of tonight, doing Q&A or stuff like that. We'll make it interesting. But we'll go through them real quick. First things first, got Target here. I know a lot of you guys like to follow along with the individual names, so let me know when you're ready, and we'll rock out. First name we're going to go over here is Target, so let me know when you guys are ready. Catching a fucking 500-point move to me is just absolutely insane. Like the fact that we're even making a move like this to me is insane, right? Like that's just insane to me. Like us making a 500-point move is just insane to me. Like in one day, let alone fucking an hour, is just insane to me. Like that's insane. I've never seen conditions like this. I've traded before COVID, during COVID, after. Never seen anything like this in my life. Like any given 5-minute candle on NQ is 200 to 300 points. That's just fucking insane. Anyway, yeah, that's my game plan for the morning. You guys know what type of time I'm on there. Anyway, let's get into target. So, rationale on target. Just look at the chart. Look at the chart, look at the chart, look at the chart. Huge. Macro demand. Previous resistance from 2019, 2020, retested again in 2020, sent us parabolic and all-time highs. Here we are 5 years later, testing that same support. Most importantly here, 1, we have a bullish divergence. That's a confluence. 2, we got confirmation, which was what? Look at target on Friday. Market sold off into the floor. Target was bright green, held up extremely well despite the market selling off. That's a definition of relative strength. So with that being said, this is why target is the top watch for a long position. My game plan tomorrow, right? I'm looking for this for a swing and a day trade. Like I said, I don't know where the market's going to open, so I don't want to go too in-depth on this. But what I'm watching on target, 2 things. This inverted head and shoulders. Left shoulder, head. Pull back, 93, right? And we can hold. That's where I want to enter a swing with a stop loss below 90. That's first things first. Number 2, if we clear this 97, that's where I want to look to take that break and hold back into 100. We reclaim 100. This goes back to 110 plus easily. So I'm looking for this 2 things. 1 for a swing, 1 for a day trade. You guys know why. With me knowing the ranges are crazy, how are you comfortable going to sleep? Because I adjust my risk, right? Usually, right, I would trade a mini, right? A mini is $20 per dollar. So if you catch a 500 point move on a mini, that's $10,000. A micro is $2 per dollar. So I essentially cut my position size in a tenth, right? I reduce my position size by over 90%. I usually trade a mini. I switch to trading just a micro, right? And you guys can see here, that's a perfect example of you don't need to use much size when the ranges are this wide to make money, right? I'm up 5K tonight just trading micros, right? That's it. Just trading micros. That's it. Just trading micros. Why? Because look at the ranges, right? But my risk is still small. I'm not risking more to make more. I'm risking less and still making the same amount. And that's where traders go wrong. They use their same position size they do for normal conditions, for these volatile conditions, and they end up taking the loss, and the loss is massive because they're not planning their trades based off their risk. They're planning their trades based off previous conditions, which aren't applicable. That's why a lot of traders fail, because they fail to adapt, right? If you can't adapt, the market's going to wash you, right? The market doesn't care, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't. It doesn't care you want to make X amount, or you think this, or you think that. No, you have to control the one thing you control, which is your risk. If you can't prioritize keeping risk in check, you will continuously struggle day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And eventually you'll get pushed out of the market. And that's why 90% of traders fail. It's not because they don't know what to do, when to do, or why to do it. They just can't keep risk in check. And they don't have a good grasp on their emotions, right? We're naturally emotional creatures, right? Like, we are not meant to trade. It takes a great sense of self-control, discipline, and patience to be a trader. And not a lot of people have it. I'm going to be honest with you. You could take, I say this all the time, and we're kind of getting off topic here, but I say this all the time, right? I can sit down with each and every one of you 365 days a year, 7 days a week, and you still might not make it, right? At the end of the day, right? Someone can hand you a 99% win rate strategy in your lap, right? I could literally hand you, put it in your lap, 99% win rate, right? If you don't have the proper experience, you don't have the proper knowledge in terms of who you are as a trader, you won't be profitable, right? You won't, because you can have a 99% win rate and still be unprofitable. You could have a 1% win rate and be profitable if that 1% of the time you win is bigger than your losses. So win rate is great in the sense of knowing if your strategy is working or not, but the most important is profit factor and a positive R multiple when entering trades. The rest is irrelevant, right? I know traders with a 20% win rate up 7 figures on a year, right? Why? Because they keep their losers small and their winners are obviously massive, right? It's that simple. Focus on profit factor. Strategy is a great indication with a higher win rate, but it all boils down to a positive profit factor. If you don't have a positive profit factor, you're not profitable, period. Right? That's just that. And there's no way around it, you know? There's no way around it. But back to what I was saying was, focus on who you are as a trader, right? The rest will fall into place. The best teacher for you is going to be experience, but obviously you got to know what to do, when to do it, and why you're doing it. That's the start. And that obviously comes from the proper education. That's the same thing I tell my mentees, right? If you take my mentorship, you're not going to be guaranteed to be profitable, right? Far from it, right? The only person who's going to determine if you're going to be profitable or not is you. That's it. If you can't manage risk, you can't stay disciplined, you can't stay patient, it doesn't matter, right? It really doesn't. It really doesn't. Anyway, let's move on here. MicroStrategy. Top watch. First things first here, we tested that macro demand about 2 or 3 weeks ago, held. Now, on the weekly here, we have a higher low, right? Where we tested that macro demand, held previous week. Now we got that nice higher low here on the weekly. That's going to translate to that daily double bottom. And you guys can see we are holding a very big demand here. And that is why MicroStrategy is my top long watch. You can see we bounced off that macro demand, pulled back, held this demand here at 268, 273, formed that higher low. Now we got the daily double bottom, bullish pin bar, bullish engulfing. And this is very important because Friday's session was a bloodbath. Look at QQQ, bloodbath, SPY, bloodbath. Look at MicroStrategy. Held up extremely strong despite the market selling off. So with that being said, this is going to be my top long watch along with Target. Game plan here is if we pull back into this demand, that is a watch for a demand bounce. 268, 270 is my top watch here for a demand bounce on MicroStrategy. Or if we can get above Friday's highs, which is at 300 psychological level, we get that break and hold above 300 on MicroStrategy. Next target is 320. We break that 320, we'll also be breaking a downtrend. 350 is around the corner. Crypto gets a relief bounce as well. I promise you, this can be a fucking rocket. So this is my top watch this week for a long position. You guys know why. We got that weekly higher low, daily higher low, daily bullish engulfing. Nice strong rising volume here as well. This chart looks great for higher. And the thing is, right, MicroStrategy is already strong, right? We got great relative strength here. So if the market can get strong as well, it's gonna be a fucking moon mission. It's gonna be a moon mission. Side note, NQ. If you want to enter a position, right? Now, like I said, I'm already in a position. This is what I would do personally, right? Now we're kind of forming, you know, for all the pattern people, right? We have our cup, we have our handle. That's one way you can look at it. Two, you can look at it as just structure, right? We broke this 16,800. If we can pull back here and hold, that could be some good opportunity into the top of the gap fill at 17,100. So with that being said, if we pull back and hold here, I'll enter it with you guys, and we'll go from there. So I'll keep this on my other screen, and we'll go from there. Next, we have AMD. We all know, right? AMD is getting absolutely clobbered, right? AMD right now is down 63% from all-time highs. Been a very weak link against the overall market. But we are approaching a major macro demand. Just look at the significance of this trendline support, which dates back to 2018. Every single time we've tested this trendline support since 2018, it's sent us into new all-time highs. Here we are in 2025, pulling back into that same trendline support, along with this macro demand. 75.80 is where I'm looking to start. One, dollar cost averaging long-term on AMD. Two, I'm going to be looking for an intraday relief bounce off this 75.80. Three, I'm going to be looking for a short-term option swing off this 75.80. That is the game plan on AMD here. 75.80 is the almighty area I am watching. On the flip side, let's say AMD gets strong. Reclaim 88, that is long worthy. Back into this 94, 95 area, which is where we can flip short for a reject off of this macro supply. That is the game plan for AMD for the week ahead. Next, we have Meta here. This chart is trouble, right? You guys can see this chart is straight up trouble. But We closed into a major macro demand, 495. This is the last line in the sand until down at the 450s. So with that being said, what I want to watch here on Meta, two things, right? If we lose this 495, I think it's going to be a clean shot, 480, 450. Easily, right? So that's going to be the top short watch. On the flip side, if we get a pop above this 520, I think we could squeeze back into the 550. 550 is that major supply, so we could watch that area there for a reject. But like I said, I don't want to go too in-depth on these names because, oh my goodness, I think we missed it. Hold on. Hold on here. I don't want to miss this. Kind of just missed it. Like that. Look at this, y'all. Like this candle here, right? This doesn't look like a lot. It doesn't. It doesn't look like much, right? That is a freaking 100-point candle, right? That's massive. That is massive. That is massive. I want to keep an eye on NQ here, see if we can catch a nice trade opportunity off this break and retest. See if we can catch a nice little trade opportunity here. See what happens. See what happens. We'll keep an eye on it for a second. I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. Yeah, we got some new merch coming very soon, and I'm not gonna lie, it's probably the best there's been. Everything we've had's fire so far, everything Dom's put out, but this is exceptionally fire. Exceptionally fire. I really want to go long here, but I'm trying to be patient because of how volatile we have been. Like I said, it doesn't look like much, but these ranges are so wide, it's not even funny. Ranges are so wide, it's not even funny. We'll keep an eye on it for a second. I don't want to waste too much time here. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. That merch is absolute gas. 10 out of 10. I'm very tempted here. I want to be patient, though. This 15-minute, I'm a little hesitant here because I think this 15-minute wants to sweep that previous low. Pull back and we get that failure of 16,800. That would be better criteria. Pull back on that 15-minute, wick that previous low, reclaim. I would like that a lot more. I would like that a lot more if NQ came down, swept 16,800 and reclaimed. We could define our risk a lot better. But honestly, we might miss it fucking around. Nights like tonight, sometimes you just gotta enter. Sometimes you just gotta enter. See what happens here. I really don't want to miss it. Oh my god. Like, that doesn't look like a big move, but that's already a 70 point move, sorry. That's already freaking massive. Wow. That's already freaking massive. I was a little late to the party. We'll keep an eye on it for another second. See what happens here. We'll keep an eye on it for another second. If it just goes, we'll keep it pushing. Aw, man. I think we got left in the dust here, y'all. My bad, I'm not looking at the chat at all. I'm fucking locked into the charts right now. I'll check out the chat in a second. I really want to catch this, but I think we're a little late. It's already up 100 fucking points. Jesus. These ranges just blow my mind. Blow my fucking mind. Wow. Ranges are just freaking insane. Like that one candle here, that's 70 points. Can I trade early on Zoom tomorrow? Maybe. We'll see. Crazy, man. Crazy. All right, I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. I'm still watching this for a trade. Hopefully one of you guys maybe took it. This looks great back into that 17,100. I think that's the best probability here. Did anybody take it? That was a beautiful trade. Let me check out the chat. See if I'm missing anything. AVGO. I'll check out a bunch of names that you guys post in a second. Fuck, man, that was nice. Wow. Like I said, it doesn't look like a lot. It looks like one green candle. That one green candle's 100 points. Jeez, oh flip. Oh, look at y'all. A lot of you guys took it. Giving me damn FOMO. Damn, how much did y'all make? One contract's up like 2K. Caught 50 points. Nice, man. I was a little late. Fuck me. Yeah, we're left at the gas station here. Well, at least I am. Happy some of you guys caught it. Fuck. Now, they know why they took it. I broke it down before it even happened. I told you guys when we were still like this. I told everybody while I was watching it. This isn't a random trade by any means. This isn't a random trade at all. I told you guys literally when we were trading right here. When the chart looked like this, I told you guys verbatim. Pull back into 16,800. That's the long criteria back into 17,100. I told you guys. That was what I was watching. That was it. Damn. I was over here covering that other chart when it happened. Shit. Alright, I'm going to move on here. I'm starting to get some serious FOMO. Whatever. If we get another opportunity before I hop off, I'll take it. I'm going to keep this up closer on my other screen so I don't miss it. Let me drag this over here. I'm going to move this one over here so I can keep a closer eye. Why didn't I take it? I wasn't watching the chart. I moved it. I should have set an alert or something. I moved the chart away. Yeah, I didn't set an alert or anything. Honestly, it was my fault. It's my fault. I'm going to set another alert here, though. Hold on. Alright. Let's move on. God damn it. Next. Apple. Apple. Wow, you guys crushed the giveaway target, too. I owe you guys one giveaway right now. I think this is record numbers for our live, man. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate every single one of you guys, man. Taking time out of your Sunday to come kick it. As always. Oh my god, you want to hear some crazy shit? I'll talk about it in a minute. Holy fuck, dude. My weekend was nuts. Anyway, Apple here. Approaching a major macro uptrend trendline support here. On top of that, we are approaching a major macro demand. 178, 180. This is where I'm looking to buy the dip on Apple. On top of buying the dip, looking to pick up a short-term swing position and a intraday bounce. If Apple can pull back into this 178, 180 area, this is a very high conviction, high confidence area of demand. I'm looking to take a demand bounce and potentially enter a short-term swing back into this 200 level. That is this 178, 180 area on Apple. Macro trendline support, major macro demand. That's the game plan. Huge on Apple. Absolutely love it. Side note, right? Side note. Yeah, my ADHD is unmatched. Side note. Confluence, right? Confluence. You guys need to develop the same recognition I have, right? And I understand there's a big difference between you and I. Experience and knowledge. I'm getting FOMO. God damn it. I'm getting some FOMO. That's almost a 200-point move. It's $4,000 per contract. Wow. I still have the micros, but I wanted to add a mini. That was the game plan. Add a mini. Oh my god. Oh my god. Wow. I can't stop looking at it. It was honestly a fucking beautiful setup. That was, if you guys want to know what a beautiful setup looks like, that was it. Classic break-in retest. Beautiful. Most importantly, context, right? There's a big learning lesson from this trade for you guys. For me, the more I look at it, the more I get FOMO. But for you guys, I'll cover it. When you take trades like this, right? Reversals in general, right? Market has been extremely weak. I need you guys to understand something. When you go into a trade, it's much more than just looking at a 5-minute candle, right? It's all about confidence, confluence, and conviction. And that comes from, obviously, being on the right side of the market, right? So going into this trade, if we look at the context of it, we're extremely oversold, right? Market is down 25% plus in a matter of a week. We approached that macro demand at 16,400. So that's the big level we're focused on here, 16,400. We came down, we held that demand, we formed that double bottom, failure to go lower. We builded here, started to form those higher highs, higher lows. We broke that structure. So now we got confirmation, right? This resistance is now support. So now we have a shift of structure, right? We were in a nice little downtrend here. We tested at macro demand. We held. We broke that resistance, pulled back, retested as support. That's an A+ opportunity, right? That's it, right? This is what an A+ break and retest looks like. The context is there. This is it, right? This is beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Right? That's the bottom line. Just beautiful. Beautiful. A beautiful fucking trade. That was a 200-point move. One contract, you would have made 4,000 on a mini. One contract, you would have made 400 on a micro. It's just absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. I want to see what we do when we approach this 17,100. That's the top of the gap fill. If we break the top of this gap fill, it should squeeze back in that 17,400 area. But if we push into the top of this 17,100, start to show weakness, that is valid for a reject back into 16,800. That's what I would watch there. If we push into the supply here, 17,100 and fail, that is a good short opportunity. So keep an eye on that. Downside, that inflection point's now at 16,800, right? So that's kind of our parameters for the night. 16,400, that's the line in the sand. 16,800 is kind of our midpoint here. And then obviously we have the top here, which is 17,100. So if you want to trade anywhere in between these, right, that pullback 16,800 be valid for a long 17,100. Or if we pull back, fail that 16,800, that would be the short in the 16,400. Or, hey, if we break that 17,100, look for that gap fill, right? So those are your parameters, 17,100, 16,800, 16,400. And that's what I'm going to do, right? That's what I'm going to be trading. Obviously, I would have been very happy getting this entry, but I missed it. I'm glad some of you guys were able to take it, but it is what it is. Anyway, back to what I was talking about, confluence, right? One thing first, right? I know a lot of you guys like to take notes. For those who do, I'll give you a second. I'm going to take a drink of water, and then we'll get into it. This is kind of a little class for you guys. Alrighty. Let's get it, let's get it, let's get it. Confluence, right? You guys always ask, how do I say the market's going to do this or do that, or how do I know this, or how do I do that? A big part of it is understanding the overall structure and sentiment, right? So let's start with the basics here, right? NQ. What are we doing? We tested a macro demand. Where are we testing a macro demand from? A massive overextension. Got it. ES. What are we doing? Massive overextension, testing a macro demand, seeing some overnight strength. YM. Massive overextension, testing a major macro demand, showing nice strength. RTY. Same thing, right? RTY. What do we have? 1771 here. Bounced off that 1700 flat. If you're looking to trade RTY, what are you looking for here? Exactly what we're seeing. Got the test of the macro demand. We got the build. So if we can break and hold above the top of that gap fill, 1783, you look for that long position, top of the gap fill, 1920. The context is there to trade a reversal. This is what you want to see, right? Everything you're seeing tonight is the very, very early stages of a relief bounce. Very, very early stages of a bullish reversal, right? Confirmation comes from obviously that daily closure and that shift of structure. But as we're working here, you guys are noticing when you look at time frames, right? Monthly is the last to reverse. That's what we're seeing here in terms of weakness. When you trade a reversal, the reversal is always going to happen first on what? The lower time frame, right? What do we have here on NQ, right? We have that macro demand test. We have that break of structure. This overnight chart now, this is now in an uptrend, right? That's a fact. We have our double bottom, failure to go lower, higher highs and higher lows. That's an uptrend, right? ES, what do we have? Uptrend. YM, what do we have? Uptrend. RTY, uptrend. Where we're coming from is most important, right? Most important. So when we're going into tomorrow's session and we see what we're seeing now and we're still building higher into tomorrow's session, we need to be careful, right? We need to be careful until we get back to the supply. That squeeze risk is very high coming off of that macro demand. And that's what I was talking about in terms of confluence, in terms of overall structure and sentiment. When you notice NQ's in a major demand showing strength, ES, YM, RTY, we see what's going on here, right? The market is bouncing off of a macro demand. So we're not going to be super eager to immediately short it, right? Like right now, there's no reason to go short, right? There would be a reason if we push into the supply and fail, but as of right now, there's no reason to short it. And this is where a lot of you guys go wrong, right? This is where a lot of you guys go wrong. Not paying attention to overall structure, overall sentiment, or the confluence between indices or confluences between individual names and indices. It matters, right? So as we just seen, ES, NQ, YM, RTY, they're all bouncing off of macro demand. They're all strong. So when we're looking at these names like AMD that are approaching this macro demand, macro trendline support, Meta, macro demand, Apple, macro demand, trendline support, name like Google sitting in a macro demand, or even a name like Netflix, right? Sitting in a macro demand, Nvidia, macro demand. Like if you notice, every single one of these charts I covered, they're trading in a macro demand, right? So when you have a confluence across the market like that, we have the demand to give us a bounce. Now the big question is, do we get the bounce? But if we do bounce from here, that's where the confidence comes from, that macro demand, right? And if we do bounce from here, we don't need to be super eager shorting the first pop, right? We need to wait for weakness after that. And to say that is huge, right? Like you guys need to understand that. And I'm going to go through these charts real quick just so you guys can see a clear example. For example, Tesla, where are we trading near? Massive demand, right? We'll go from a weekly perspective, right? Weekly perspective. Baba, macro demand. BA, where are we trading? Macro demand, 138, right? We'll go back to the weekly. QCOM, where are we trading? Macro demand. On top of the macro demand, what are we doing? Macro uptrend trendline support, right? AMD, we already covered. Macro demand, macro trendline support. Roku, still far away, right? Affirm, macro demand. SMCI, kind of far away. Zoom, macro demand, 65. Crowd, macro demand, right? If you notice, every single one of these names we're looking at is approaching or sitting in a macro demand. So we have the overall market confluence in terms of being in demand. Now the big question is, does it hold or not? If it does hold, that's when that fucking life-changing opportunity comes from in terms of swings and long-term dip buys, right? So you have to understand that, and you have to also understand that in terms of, hey, not shorting that first bounce off of that macro demand, right? But just to skim through these charts, there's a lot of opportunity here, right? Like the Apple 178, 180. And throughout this week on Zoom, we're going to go through a lot of these charts, and I'm going to start putting together my long-term dip buys. I already started to buy a few names last week, but I'm going to really start nailing names down this week and in the upcoming trading week, especially if we come lower. And I cannot reiterate enough. Like, if you guys want the easiest money possible in terms of trading, it's long-term, right? Buy these fundamentally sound companies at massive dips and just forget about them, right? You'll catch 20, 30, 40, 50% over the next few years and go about your business, right? Go about your business. Yeah, like times like this when everybody's fearful, everybody's scary, and I've traded long enough to know how the market works, right? If you guys notice, right, when I was short up here, short here, I had all the confidence in the world. Why? I trade pretty much inverse of headlines, right? When we start talking about the markets crashing, and headlines are flying, that's when the bottom is likely in, right? Up here, when they talk about, hey, market's going higher, market's going back to all-time highs, market's geared for lower, right? You'll gain that experience, you'll gain that wisdom through trading, right? And just for example, like if you go back and look at any other time we've corrected like this and correlate the headlines to what's going on in the market, they're damn near inversed, damn near the Kramer effect for headlines, right? And it's all for a reason, right? It's all for a reason. And if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, you're scared to put money in the market. When has it ever went to zero? If the market goes to zero, the world's going to zero. That's a fact, right? These are all a reflection of the world, right? It's a fact. So just think of it in that aspect. If you want to set yourself up properly for the future and you have money to invest, we're reaching the times where you need to be investing. You need to be dollar cost averaging, setting yourself up for your future, right? Like times like right now is where opportunity is created to really change lives, right? Like these times are where everybody's panicking, everybody's fearful, but you need to be locked in and focusing on those obviously downside moves, right? There's a lot of value in these moves down, scalping. Take that money scalping, push it into long term, right? That's what I do, right? But yeah, man, we've covered an absolute ton tonight. Spend the next few moments here. If you guys got any questions, you guys got any concerns, feel free to ask it. I'll be more than happy to answer, and then we will get into these giveaways, man. That's what we're going to do. That's the game plan. That is the game plan. That is the game plan. I'm not going to lie. That was a hell of a trade off that 16,800. Hell of a trade. I'm still holding my micros, but god damn. Sheesh. Sheesh. Crazy. Crazy. Give me 1 second here. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, let's see what we got. Crypto. Yeah, we could take a look at that real quick, and then we'll do the giveaway. Ethereum, just an FYI, I bought some tonight. 1550. I'm gonna start. I already said I bought some here for obvious reasons. We're in this demand, right? I grabbed a little bit here. I think I grabbed like 5 or 6, not many. But I'm going to absolutely load the boat if we get to 1,000. Mark my words. If Ethereum gets to 1,000, I have no problem loading the boat. Like that's it. I grabbed my first starter right here at 1,500. I did it tonight, a couple hours ago, I think. My average is 1,550. But yeah, 1,500 I feel like is a safe starter. Load the boat down there at the thousands. Bitcoin, if you're not in Bitcoin and you want some exposure, I mean, to be honest, there's no better time than now, but the major area I would look for a dip buy on Bitcoin would be this 72,000, 74,000 area, which we're pretty much already there. So grabbing a starter now on Bitcoin is a good idea, right? You grab some at this 72, 75,000 area, and if we pull back into 50,000, you load the boat. That would be the game plan. So starter area here, we'll just say 80,000 to 75K on Bitcoin. Load the boat 50K, right? Bottom line, that's it. Ethereum starter 1,500, load the boat 1,000. Bitcoin starter 77, 75, load the boat 50. Outside of that, I really don't trust much else here besides Solana. Solana, grab a starter around this 180, load the boat down here at 50s. Pretty much it. big question is, right? Market hasn't seen any relief, right? We haven't had any relief on the market in over 20% on NQ. ES, 17%. It's not a matter of if, right? It's just a matter of when, right? If you look at this chart here, from here, we've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12 different green candles. The most we've seen consecutively is 2. These are the most green candles we've seen in a row since last Wednesday, right? Like I said, it all goes back to context. I truly believe, and this is my personal opinion, I do have a position behind it, this 4,800 is likely the bottom for this week, right? I'm going to say that. For this week at least, I think we see relief from this 4,800 on ES. If we get a pop back into supply, 5,200, 5,300, that's where we can look to short that next lower high, right? But from this 4,800 level on ES, I do think we see relief, and I'm going to use that as my reference for longs off that 4,800 on ES. NQ, that's going to be that 16,400, right? So 16,400 on ES, that NQ, excuse me. 16,400 on NQ is my reference for longs this week. I do think we could see a nice relief bounce. I mean, we pretty much already have back to like 17,500, maybe 18,000, and then we can look for that next lower high to short if we get one, right? And that's the game plan, right? Right now it's too early. It's nice we're seeing strength off this level, but it doesn't really mean much yet. Ultimately, like I said, I do think that we fill this gap that we've created on open tonight, this week, and then from there, you know, we'll have to see. But that's pretty much the game plan. Alrighty, let's get this giveaway rocking. Right now, I owe you guys 2 of them. There's over 1,000 people in attendance tonight. Shout out to you guys. Just because I'm feeling generous. And I had a massive weekend. I made like $150K this weekend off $400. So I don't mind giving back. I gave back $2,000 to my mentees. No, $1,500. Yeah, I gave away $500 yesterday to the mentees. And I gave away $1,000 yesterday. No, $500 on Friday. Gave back $1,000 yesterday to the mentees. And yeah. Fucking crazy weekend on stake, man. Crazy weekend. I turned $20 into $100,000. And then I turned $25 into $50,000. Absolute insanity. And I didn't even deposit anything. It was from a monthly bonus. It's crazy. First keywords. Oh, wow, they changed everything here. This is all new. It never was like this before. Never was like this before. What the fuck? This is all new. Hold on a second. The mentorship already started. I'm not going to give away a spot. Maybe later. Keyword is going to be bears. Remove spammers. I think that's a good idea. Nah, we'll leave the spammers. Viewer luck. What does that mean? Subscriber luck. We're going to put that times 5. If you're subscribed, you get 5 times the luck. Regular modifier. I'm going to put that to 3. So if you're a regular, you got better odds. And there we go. Good luck, everybody. If you're subscribed, you got 5 times the chances. If you're a regular, you get 3 times the chances. If you're a regular and a subscriber, I guess that makes it 8 times. So that's pretty fair. Let's get it. Good luck, everybody. I'm going to set the timer real quick. 20 seconds. Let's go. Alrighty. Good luck, everybody. Here we go. Eve's Trades. That name looks familiar. If you see your name pop up right here, type in the chat as soon as possible. This will turn green. You know you're good to go. I usually give everybody about 45 seconds to a minute. If it takes longer than that, you're shit out of luck. All right, I know there's a delay, but the delay isn't that big. Eve's Trades, where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? If we hit 500 likes before we're done here, I'll give away $500 at once to one person. All right. Eves, where you at? 49 seconds? That's a good winner. That is a good winner. Oh, shit. Where'd they go? Eves Trades. Here we go. Nice. I like your caption here. Plan your trade, trade your plan. Good shit. Nice. First winner, Eves Trades. Good money. Alright. Let's run it back here. Keyword. Next. Bing. Boom. Next keyword. You guys know what it's going to be. Good old turbo. Alrighty. Good luck, everybody. Next keyword is turbo. Reset entries. Good luck, good luck, good luck. Turbo, turbo, turbo. Turbo, turbo, turbo. Let me see. We'll give it 20, 30 seconds here. I'm going to show you guys something, right? Literally, off of 2 micros, I made 3K. 2 micros. 2 micros. That was it. These are my Apex accounts too, by the way. That's a total of 60K. Whoops. Made 60K tonight on Apex. That's 3,000 times 20. 2 micros. That's it. That's it. Alrighty. Good luck, everybody. Let's get it. Kells L Bay. I think that's a minty. I'm pretty sure. I think so. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Nice, I'm here. Good stuff. Good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. Good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. Where are we at? Did we hit 500? Did we hit 500? I'm gonna take a look at this chart real quick. Nope, 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 nope. Alrighty. Couple questions. Anybody got any last minute questions? Whatever it may be, trading, personal, business, entrepreneurship, whatever it may be, man. Now's your time to ask it. And yeah, man. For Kells L Bay, EV's Trades, check the pin message. So you guys can get your money. Alright? Check the pin message. Let me see what we got here. How many are we at? Regardless, if you guys won or not tonight, I appreciate every single one of you guys taking time out of your Sunday to come kick it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully you guys got some value from it. Hopefully you guys made some money, right? If you took that 16,800 bounce, whew, that was $4,000 per contract. If you took a mini, that was 400 on a micro. So if you took either one of them, you printed. Yeah, man. Fucking awesome night tonight. Personally made some money myself. Had a great live. Hey, it's a good night. Masai, can you start a challenge on EVA account passing? I take future trades every day on Zoom. Almost every day, I would say. Let's see. Made some money today. Yeah, futures are the way, man. I literally beat myself up every day for not starting earlier. I wish I started trading futures earlier. This year alone, I'm up over $500,000 just trading futures. Most importantly, with proof. No Google spreadsheets, no long-term gain flexing, money in the bank. And a live trade for free every day. Every single trade I take is live trade for free every day, or it's posted for free on X. No paywalls, no gimmicks, no bullshit, completely free. That's a fact, by the way. It's a fact. No long-term gain flexing, no Google spreadsheets, no none of that. Alrighty, seems like everybody's good to go. I'm gonna check the light counter one more time, see if we're above 500. No, we're at 450. If we were close, I would let it slide, but we're a little ways away. Yeah, man, appreciate all of you guys. Great fucking Sunday. You guys know the vibes, man. Live every single day on Zoom trading. So if you want to tune in, you guys know where to find me. And yeah, man, record numbers tonight on the live. Very, very happy with it. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the live as well and are happy with it as well. I primarily live trade options. I've been live trading options for literal years. I just started trading futures recently. The Zoom is 90% of the trades we take are options. Yeah. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the morning. You guys have a great rest of your night. And yeah, man. See you guys in the morning. Peace, everybody.